Franny with the Sherburne SWCD, and normally around this time we host a lot of educational events, but because of current circumstances we thought we would take a couple of videos to help get our information out there. So today we're going to talk all about watersheds and the things that we do on a daily basis that impact our watersheds both positively and negatively. So the simple definition of a watershed is just an area of land that's flowing to one particular body of water, and they're usually separated by topography. So in mountainous regions, the mountains are separating watersheds. In Minnesota, we don't really have mountains, so sloping hills, and nowadays even streets kind of separate our watersheds. So Minnesota has 81 major watersheds. So we can zoom in on this beautiful map of our watersheds. And Elk River in Sherburne County is in the Mississippi St. Cloud watershed, right in here. And Minnesota is in the Mississippi watershed, and we're at the top of the watershed. And so we're part of a really big watershed, which ends up in the Gulf of Mexico, because everybody knows the Mississippi River outlets at the Gulf of Mexico. So we have a big job to do up here to keep our watershed clean before it goes downstream of us. So I'm going to talk about a few things that we do in a residential area that impact our watershed. So here we have a couple of houses, cars, streets, driveways, and so we'll notice here everybody has a nice green lawn. And normally people put fertilizer on their lawn, and sometimes without knowing it they put a little too much down. So I'm going to put some fertilizer on our lawns to make sure they stay nice and green. And we want to keep up with everybody, so we're putting a lot down. And another thing, we have, if there's trees on the property in the fall, if they're deciduous, those trees are going to drop. So I'm going to put down some leaves as well. And also people might have some dogs in their neighborhood. I have a dog, they're super great, but if you don't clean up after them, then you might have some pet waste that ends up in the streets. And lastly, some folks might live on a river, they might live on a lake or some other kind of water body, and if they're not doing what they can to protect that shoreline, there might be some bare spots that could eventually erode. So I'm going to put some soil down here where we have bare spots. And so now we have a few things on our land, and now it's going to rain, and we're going to see what happens. So you can see things are kind of starting to flow downstream. The streets are definitely helping to connect our pathways in this instance. This isn't always the case. All right, so everything ended up in our lake because it's part of the watershed. So you can see the water is kind of tinted green. There's some leaf litter and other debris, and you might be thinking, you know, leaves are natural. Why is it a bad thing to have leaves end up in our water? Well, leaves just add on that nutrient, and nutrients are great. We need nutrients. The plants and animals in the lake need nutrients, but too many nutrients will grow too many plants. It'll grow algae, which I have a good picture of an algae bloom in the summer. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. Algae causes the lake to turn green. It can smell bad, so you don't really want to swim in it. And it makes the water, it's called turbid, so you can't really see. So even fish underwater or other organisms, they can't see, so they can't see their prey, or they can't see predators that they might need to hide from. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and then we're going to talk about ways that we can help prevent this from happening to our water bodies.